Hello and welcome to the video. This video is a very quick tip around how to tame your throttle response on your little quadcopter. Now this will work on any multi-rotor, but it's specifically aimed at those of you that may be buying something like a 2S Tiny Whoop or something else like that. Now this Emax Tiny Hawk that I have here is a little 1S powered machine and is perfect for flying indoors. But a lot of these more powerful racing, in inverted commas, Tiny Whoops have an awful lot of power, and that additional power can make them a little bit tricky to fly indoors easily. Now this video came about as a result of somebody wandering up to me at the UK drone show at the beginning of December and asking me this question, and it was a great question. I thought, you know what, there's not a real video that I've done that talks about this. There's throttle curves and other things, and I'll talk about those in a minute, but nothing specifically addressing this. So if you have an indoor model that has lots and lots of power and you are getting into trouble by blipping the throttle and smashing it into the ceiling and knocking bits of the Artex off in the dining room, then this will also help. This tip is also handy for those of you that are learning to fly and maybe have bought something like one of the Hollybro Copperseers or one of the Emax Hawks or one of those kind of quadcopters to learn on, and you're finding that it just appears to have too much power. This will also help tame those too. Now there are two ways to go about this. The first way is using good old OpenTX or similar on the radio that you're using, and that is to go into the settings for the throttle and to reduce the amount of throttle that's been sent through. By default, the throttle channel sends 100% of the value from the throttle stick through to the flight controller, but you can reduce that number. So either in the inputs or the mixes, you can reduce it from 100 to a lower value, 50, 60, 70, 75%. or whatever's going to give you the control that you need. The thing to be careful of here is once you have reduced the range of the throttle, you'll notice that it no longer goes from -100 to +100, which is kind of the point. However, Betaflight won't arm if the throttle isn't at -100. So what you have to do is whatever number you've reduced 100 by to get to the throttle range that you're after, you need to add that number back in to the offset so that the throttle starts at -100 and then goes up to the level that you need. Again, those two numbers should add back up to 100, so whatever you take off the range, add to the offset and it'll work fine. Now the benefit of this, of course, is that you could have multiple throttle settings set up on a switch, which means that you could have a setting for when you're flying your model around indoors, and then you can flick the switch again and that will go back to 100% throttle, and that would be ready to fly outdoors. The other thing that you can also do on the radio that calms the model down an awful lot, and something that I do, is to use throttle curves. Now a throttle curve is handy because what you can do is use it to flatten out the area around where the model hovers, and that makes hovering an awful lot easier, which is brilliant if you're learning to fly with a small indoor quad. And it also means that the response from the radio is a lot less sensitive around that particular area. So if you are flying slowly, then the movements of the stick, like expo for the throttle around the hover point, I guess, is a lot more manageable. I won't go through it all in depth here. If you're interested, I'll put a link here of how you can actually set that up on your radio. Now the benefits with this, of course, is that it works with all quadcopters. It doesn't have to be Betaflight. Whatever model that you're using, irrespective of the flight controller and the flight controller software, it will work with them. And again, you can set it up so with the flick of a switch you can have an indoor and outdoor setting. And the scaling works like the normal throttle that you're using already, so you don't lose any resolution as such. It's just that it won't go above the specific value that you're looking for. Now the other way you can do it is in Betaflight 3.4 and above. They introduced a couple of additional things. They are called set throttle limit type and set throttle limit %. Now to do these, you're going to have your computer on. You're going to connect up to your flight controller, go into the CLI, and you can actually have a look at what these settings are. By default, the set throttle limit type is off, and what you're going to do is you need to set that to scale, and then set throttle limit % is normally 100%, and again you can set that to a lower value, and then of course you're going to save and reboot it, and that will do the same thing. Now you can save these different profiles and change it around as well in Betaflight, but the benefits of this is that it's not a cutoff, it's a rescaling of the throttle in the flight controller, so it's beautifully granular, and it also from what I can see, it looks like you're getting that full resolution. The downside, of course, is that it only works in Betaflight 3.4 and above. So if you have an older quadcopter or something running another flight controls operating system, then it isn't going to work. But hopefully that helps those of you that are struggling with a throttle response on a very powerful quadcopter, or if you've got a powerful indoor quadcopter that you're struggling to manage. If you found that video useful or like the content, then please hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you want to go the extra step, you can become a Patreon of the Painless 360 channel and help provide support for what I do here. All the videos created here are put into playlists, so if you're interested in a particular topic, have a look at the playlist, and they all are organised in there to make them easier to use. If you're not sure if there's a video for your particular problem or topic you want to know more about, then add Painless 360 to the Google search term that you're interested in, and that should find the video, article or content about the particular thing that you're interested in having a look at.